Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Thank you for following. Please like, share, and subscribe. Um, Today, what I'm going to talk about is, I watch a lot of other YouTube channels, and a lot of the stuff that pops up on my feed is, the prison genre channels. So I watch them. It's pretty interesting things some of these guys discuss. I myself, like I told you before, I've never been to prison. Did youth authority time. So a lot of these guys that have these channels, they have all been to, a lot of them have been to the youth authority, and they all have their stories of how it was. I was there in the early '90s. Um, my YA number is a low 6,000. So I got there in I got my YA number back in 1990. December of 1990 is when I got my YA number. Uh, but my experience with YA was a little bit different than what they have. I hear a lot of them talking about how it was fucked up for them or how it was fucked up in YA. And YA, yeah, it was. There was some. There was a lot of fucked up, stupid rules. Those stupid rules that you had to follow. Some of them were stupid. Some of them, I was already doing that shit on the streets. You know what I mean? I was already following those rules on the streets. You know what I mean? So, but there was like say for instance, if you drop something on the floor, it was no good. That's it. It's leva. That's it. Don't. It's no good. There was even a rule before I had gotten there that this is during the time where they were able to still smoke, because when I got there they had took the cigarettes away. But like if you dropped a cigarette on the floor, they'd have to use their foot to fucking kick it toward the wall and use their foot to try to pick it up. Just stupid shit. If you drop the fucking bar of soap in the shower, you wash your body, have a brand new bar of soap you wash your body with, especially if it was like a soap from the outsides, not the jail soaps and fucking hotel soaps. You had a bottle bar zest, or back then we were using Lever 2000, I think it was called, or Dove, whatever. And you're getting it all lathered up, and boop, it pops out, hits the floor. That's it. You kick it to the center, to where the drain was at. Don't pick it up. That was our rules as far as the Chicanos went, and the Mexicanos. That was our rules. The blacks and the whites, they didn't give a fuck. They'd bend over and pick their soap up. I even seen them pick up other people's soap. If you dropped a brand new bar of soap, they didn't give a fuck. They'd go pick that shit up. We weren't allowed to do that. You always had to shower with your ass against the wall. So the showers, when I got to, I don't remember how the showers were in SRCC. I'm trying to think about it, but I can't remember how the showers were there. I spent only a month there at SRCC in Norwalk. But when I was there, I spent a lot of time in the cell. You didn't come out that much. I didn't. When I was there, they kept us in there most of the day. We come out day room sometimes during the day, but a couple hours you're back in there. So we had these little. We were able to order these little radios. They were like about like this big, a little black radio with a little wired headset. Put them in your ears, and you can catch the radio stations and shit. You know what I mean? So, you would just lay on the bunk, and it took like, I think they took like one AAA battery or something. They're really small radio, and you'd find a radio station, you just lay on your bunk, and just listen to the radio. And before I went there, though, I was in when I was in the juvenile hall, at LP and at Central, they had me coded, which meant I was coded 187, which meant I could not have a cellmate. I had to be by myself, because of the crime that I committed. When I went to SRCC Norwalk, then I was able to have somebody in there with me. So we would just bullshit with each other, and sometimes you get down with the with whoever you're in there with because you get tired of seeing them, even after a couple days. You get a guy will come into your cell, and at first he's cool, and then a couple days go by, it's like, man, I can't live with this fucking guy. You know what I mean? He snores or talks too much or you know doesn't give the courtesy flush. He's just dirty, whatever it is. Uh, so you end up fucking getting down with the dude, and he gets the boot. Um, so there was those things. You get to little scuffles in your cell and shit over dumb things. It was always over something stupid. While I was there in SRCC, there wasn't really a lot of stuff jumping off in there as far as like racial shit. But it was real. It was racial, but like I said, there was rules that I was already following on the streets. So when I got there and they were like, "Hey, this is the way it is," we don't fucking don't take nothing from the blacks. Don't give them nothing. They do their own thing, we do our own thing. If shit jumps off, we all jump off, we all jump together, against them. You know what I mean? And I was like, shit, that's my cup of tea right there. You know what I mean? I was with that shit. So I was like, cool. Let me know. So I mean, I already stayed away from them in the streets. So being in there, staying away from them, not dealing with them was, you know, one of the rules that I was like, well, I already follow that rules on the streets. You know what I mean? So that doesn't bother me. You know what I mean? With the white boys, it was a little bit different. They still had their own thing. We had our own thing, but we associated with them. You know what I mean? Um, but nothing really jumped off there at SRCC. I worked in the kitchen because I told you in another video. I knew that I wasn't having nobody taking care of me, and I found out that if you worked in the kitchen, they paid you. And I still don't remember how much it was, but it might have been like fuck, maybe 10 cents an hour or some 25 cents an hour, some shit. You got paid a little bit of something. But the best part about it was all the food that was left over. You can take it back to the unit and sell it. But not only that is that the staff that worked there, the guards or the free staff that they weren't corrections officer guards, whatever you want to call them. They were just people that worked for the institution. They we when we worked in the kitchen, we made the food for all the wards, inmates, whatever you want to call us. But we also made food for the staff. So the chef that was working there with us, the cook, the main guy from the street, he had a different menu for them. So some of us would work on that menu, some would work on the inmate menu. But they would get like enchiladas, burritos, lasagna, all kinds of shit. Well, since we worked there, whatever was left over there, we could eat that shit. They make like burritos and good food. We make some really good food for the staff. Like they would get at like a like a fast food place or like a Chipotle or something like that, like a burrito from there. So we got to especially when they made them big burritos, they would make big ass burritos, and we could take those back, sell them. So that's how I make money from getting paid from working. Plus, I would get paid from like selling cakes, cookies, burritos, whatever was left over. Um, the stuff that we ate was like garbage. I think one of my favorite things to eat there was the corned beef in the morning. The corned beef, it came out of a fucking canned corned beef. You can buy it. I just ate some the other day. This Hormel or whatever the hell it is. It's you buy it at the market, canned corned beef and potatoes. But they had that. That was like one of the favorite things for us to eat. Or the SOS, the shit on the shingle, which was like the chip beef and or ground beef or chip beef with like a pepper gravy on toast. The other thing that everybody looked forward to was the I think it was like chili beans with scrambled eggs in the morning. The cakes at night. Other than that, like the dinners, they weren't all that good. They had this fucking chicken that they said. I don't know if I told you about that, but they had this chicken that they put it in a tray that was like this high. It was big, big fucking trays. They're like cake sheets, big ones, and they put all this chicken thighs in there, and then they chicken thighs and legs, and they pour oil over it, and they put it in the oven, let it cook like that, and we didn't eat that shit. Most of us would just push it into the center of the table. We weren't eating. It's just nothing but grease, and the skin was all rubbery. The black dudes used to love it though. They would eat it. Like if we put our shit in the middle, whatever was in the middle on the trays, they could have it. They would take that shit. They would eat the chicken. We would eat that shit. So yeah, there wasn't really much going on right there. And then I get up to Central California, to the coast, to Paso Robles, and that's the first time that I got involved in a riot, and it was against the blacks. We had only been there maybe a week or so, something like that, and there was three dudes that were kind of like running shit for us. They were a little bit older than me. I was 15 years old. They were probably like 17. One was from Drifters, one was from 38th Street, and the other one was from Street Saints. And what it started over was when they would call day room, the blacks would run out of their cells and run to the front where the TV's at. The TV's on the wall. It's up on the wall, and there was these chairs that they were like love seat type thing. They were two seaters. They had vinyl seat, vinyl back, and like chrome arms on the side. And like I said, two people could sit in each one, and they were lined up, probably like four or five. Then another row of four or five, and then another row of four or five. Well, they would come out and they'd rush the front. They'd rush the front, and they'd put the TV on what they wanted to watch. So they'd all take up all the front rows. We didn't care about that. We didn't care about sitting in the front row. We didn't want to sit there. Behind those couches or those little love seats were the tables that were mounted to the floor, and they had four seats, big metal tables, like octagon shaped metal tables, and four seats mounted to the table. We sat back there, and but they would always put on what they wanted to watch. They always put on what they wanted to watch. And one day we had came out, they did the same shit. Ran out there, turned the TV on. I don't know if they put on BT or what the fuck they put it on, but they put it on black shows. Shh, quiet. And so these three dudes, one was Pirate from 38th Street. The other one was Danny Boy from Drifters, and the other one was Bugsy from Street Saints. And we were all come out, and they did the same thing. They rushed the fucking TVs and shit, the TV and the front rows and all that. So these guys were sitting we were sitting in the back, and these three dudes are sitting on top of the tables, and they're like, hey man, tomorrow if this shit goes down again, they do that same shit again, we're gonna fucking rush these dudes, man. You know what I mean? Like getting tired of fucking them doing that, putting on what they want to watch and shit. You know what I mean? And they always cause an issue. So it's like, all right, cool. So I was like, say no more. So the next day we come out, same thing. They run over there, turn the TV on, put on the black channel or black show, whatever, and we're all just sitting there waiting for these three guys to jump up. And they're like looking around. They're like, so everybody gets up, and like I said, they're all facing the TV, sitting in these chairs. They don't know that we're coming from behind them. There was more of us than them. We get on them, and we start fucking them up. And then they, the guards come, start spraying everybody, and shit happens all laid out there. Uh, Lock us down for a day or two. It wasn't that long. Needless to say, they didn't do that shit no more after that. That was the only time that I was ever involved in a riot there. Um, Luckily for me, I ended up in the fire camp. These other guys, a lot of other guys went end up in the other units. Some were drug units. Some were like you can go to college. Avenal was the people that worked in the kitchen and the laundry. I ended up in the fire camp. I got lucky because I was getting paid good over there. I was getting paid $5 a day. By after I was only there for a couple months, and I got a good job over there because of some dude from San Fernando. He got me. He passed his job on to me when he got paroled. And once I had that job, I I never had to go out in the fire crew no more. I had to go in the fire crew for the first month I was there, because when you go there, you have to go to the fire crew for like a month, and you have to train. You have to train. You get trained by the California Department of Forestry. So they train you to take out in the mountains. They train you. You have to do like first off, you have to pass the physical to be able to stay at the camp, which means you had to be able to run a mile in less than 7 minutes. You had to do so many push-ups, so many sit-ups, chin-ups, all that other shit. They put you through a test. They give you the whole month. That's the first month. That's what that was. The first month you had to get physically fit. Then you did your test. Then you went and started training with the Department of Forestry. They take you out into the mountains and shit like that, and you're cutting line with rakes and hoes and axes and shit like that and chainsaws. You're out there working all day, 10 hours a day, 8 hours a day. You're hiking. We hike 12 miles. Had to hike 6 miles into the mountains, cut line for like 5 hours, hike, you know, another 6 miles back. So if you got into the fire camp, you were gonna lose a lot of fucking weight because you had to work. Most everybody had to stay on a fire crew. So I think there was like, I don't know, 5 or 6 crews, something like that. So every crew had a certain amount of guys. Everybody had to be on a fire crew unless you got a job working in camp. It was called in camp because you never left the facility. You stayed there at the institution. You had a job there. I had almost every single good job they had there. Um, there was captain cleanup, which that was my first job. I think I explained it to you guys before. It's the job like if you've seen the movie Bad Boys with Sean Penn, when him and Esai Morales are in the movie, they're in a juvenile facility, and he becomes like the man. He gets to tell everybody what to do. He assigns jobs. That was my job. I was captain cleanup. That's what they called it. Um, I worked at the canteen building. So if you were there from 1991 to 1992, when I got paroled in 1992 November. So if you were there during that time and you went to the canteen building, I was the one. Me and Spanky from Venice were the ones giving you your canteen. We were the ones pulling the canteen orders, and I worked in the irrigation. I used to repair the sprinkler system there, the whole institution. Sprinklers broke. I was out there digging holes, fixing them. I'd be out there by myself. I started off with an old man that used to work there. He told me how to do these things, and after that, I was just he say, "Hey, there's a couple sprinklers down on this side of the yard. You got to go over there and fix them." All right, no problem. Get my shovel, get my tools, go over there, start fixing, digging holes and fixing the sprinklers and setting the timers and all that shit. Then there was the yard crew where you mowed all the lawns at the whole facility, blowers, edgers, all that shit. You were a gardener or whatever. Landscaping. I did that. Then there was another maintenance crew that went around. About 6 guys went around with another outside employee, and he did electrical and all kinds of other shit. He just miscellaneous. He was like a handyman, and there was like 6 guys that went with him and did all this handyman stuff, learned how to do all these other things. So I did that job too. Worked in the commissary. That's how we used to get shit in. We used to get shit in through the fucking staff, but we also get shit in through the truck drivers. When the truck drivers came, we unloaded their trucks. You know what I mean? You get hooked up with a truck driver. He bring you, you know, a case of cigarettes. Um, you're gonna make money off that. Your pack of cigarettes at the time on the street was $2.25, and there was $20 for a pack of cigarettes. So you got 10 packs. So you do the math. Um, the cigarette a cigarette alone, one cigarette alone was $1. If you had weed, you make some good money. Playboy magazines, you make good money. I think it was like $20 for a Playboy magazine. I think it was $50 for like a Hustler or a Swank or a Penthouse. You know, the real porn. You know, you get like $50 for one of those. Even a fucked up one was kind of expensive. I was there during the time when they first brought them, because when I before I went up there, I thought there was norteños up there. Come to find that there wasn't. When I got there, there was none. But I was there when they brought them. When they first we had heard about it. They were the staff that came, so they check it out. Um, they're bringing guys from Northern California here. We don't know if they're going to come into the camp or they're going to send them just to regular units. But if they come here, you guys better not act up. You'll get kicked out of here. You know. But we already knew that if they did show up there at the camp, that we'd have to get off on them right away. You know, even if you had risk getting kicked out of the camp, you had to do it. You know, I remember they brung them. We knew the day they were coming, and as soon as they got there, the first line movement they moved them in. They put them in line movement. Like, I don't know if it was go to chow or to go to school, but we heard the alarms going off. They let them out to the line movement, and they got rushed. While I was there, they never came out again. They kept them in a certain unit, and they stayed there. They never let them out again. They had their own yard. They wouldn't let them out again. They even had to go to school by themselves. They couldn't be around everybody else because the first time they got let out, they got fucked up, and that was it. Uh, Other people say that they had been letting them out, but I don't remember that. I remember them only letting them out that one time. They got rushed by a bunch of units at one time, and that was it. They locked them up in Arroyo and left them over there. Couldn't come out no more. Um, and then during that time, I was working at the canteen building. So um, when they ordered their shit, somebody would come pick up these baskets. We pack all the stuff in a bag, in a paper bag, staple it, put their list on it, staple that. They had their name and all the shit they ordered, put in these baskets, and then they would wheel that shit over to their unit. Well, we would fuck their stuff up. You know, we would steal some of their shit, steal their mailers. What the mailer was like a little envelope like this that you put your film in, and you write the address to the institution there. You write your YA number, your name, what unit you were in, and you put your film in there. You send it out. You get to check, you know, what duplicates, you know, what size pictures you want, or whatever. You send it out, and like 2 weeks later, you get it back with your pictures in there. That's how we got our pictures. You know, we used to take the little cameras that you move a little thing like this to take the picture. And they took them little tiny, them small little films. So we sent those out, but those were like, I don't know if they were like 10, $20. Can't remember. They're expensive though. The mailers were expensive, but we just if they ordered them, I'd fucking take that shit out of it. I wouldn't even put it in the bag. I just keep it. They're fucking cookies and shit like that. We'd crush them up. Chips, we'd crush them up. You know, they're anything they had. If we could fuck it up, we were gonna fuck it up. We'd throw it in the bag, staple the bag close, send all their shit to them. You know, they didn't have a good time there. I tell you that much. You know, I guess eventually they ended up taking them out of there and moving them out, but they couldn't have jobs because they would get rushed on if they got let them out the unit, they would get rushed, and it wasn't because they were punks, nothing. It was because there wasn't enough of them. There was only like, I don't know, maybe like 40 of them, 30, 40, something like that. I mean, it wasn't a lot. They brought all the worst guys they had in Northern California from the different institutions that just were always in trouble. They said, okay, you guys want to fucking act up? So they send them over to Paso Robles, or they send some of them down south to Nellis. They lasted longer over there, I think, than they did in Paso. I never ran into them. I wasn't on their unit. I never ran into them. Our unit, the camp was away from everybody else. We were behind all the other units. We didn't. They had a they had each unit had a fence around their yard. So there was 8 units. There was 8, 9, 11 units, and they all had their own yards fenced off. We were in the back area. We had no fence around our building. And because I was at the time captain cleanup, I could go outside our building, anytime I wanted to. I just tell them, hey, pop the door so I can go outside. And I would go outside because outside where we had a area where we had all the mop buckets, the brooms. We had big ice machine back there so we can get ice. And so I was able to go outside the building and walk around out there and shit like that because I had to have guys out there cleaning. I'd get up in the morning, like, hey, okay, you're gonna do this, you're doing this, you're doing this. So I have guys out there, hey, you gotta go out there and fucking pull these weeds or do whatever. You know what I mean? You gotta go on the other side and sweep the fucking the asphalt where the handball courts and shit are, clean out there, pick up any trash and stuff like that. So I was able to go outside and take guys outside with me and tell them what to do. But it was easier living. Now I stayed mostly in camp. I was only in the fire crew for a little while. I didn't want to be on the fire crew. I wasn't gonna be out there fighting no fucking fires and all that shit like that. I didn't want to be out there on the fire crew. That shit was hard work, and it's dangerous. You're right up on a fucking forest fire, and you're out there just with hand tools. You ain't out there with water hoses and shit. You're out there with hand tools. And I'm like, fuck that, I'm not doing that. I wanted a job in camp, so that's when I got my first job as captain cleanup. I stayed in camp, and I stayed in camp from then on. Always had good jobs. Um, so my experience was different, but like the guys we go out in the fire crews, when they were out in fires, the rules were a little bit different for them. You know, uh, they associated more with the blacks, well, with each other, the whites, blacks, everybody, because they're out there working together. They're out in the mountains. Um, they're busting their ass out there. They have to look to each other to get by out there in the mountains. Because you're out there for days. You're out there, cutting line for 12 hours. You know what I mean? So yeah, them guys out there, there was a little bit of food. They're sharing it with each other. You know what I mean? Um, but when you came back to the camp, it went back to the way it is. You didn't give none to the blacks. Didn't You couldn't let them. Even if it was a dude that you knew from the street, you couldn't give him potato chips. You couldn't let him. Definitely couldn't let him put his hand in your bag of chips or nothing like that. Don't give him nothing. No soap. You can't give him shit. Um, so when you were in camp, you had to follow those same rules that everybody else in the whole institution followed. You know what I mean? But when you were out there working in the mountains and shit like that for a week or so like that, then things would change for you at that time. To come back, you go back to the fucking rules, that you had to follow at the institution. But we didn't have like riots and shit like that in the camp. Um, People went to the blinds, and there was a couple areas there where you can go and you can get down with somebody if you had a problem with them. Every once in a while, something would happen. I got into it one time with a dude from another neighborhood out there in South Central, talking shit. So got up, went to the back of the dorm, and kind of like squatted down because we were behind some double bunks. In the back there was single bunks. That's where the senior guys were at. The guys that had been there a long time, that had good jobs, they were in the back, and they were in the single bunks. Those are the guys on the fire crews that had the good jobs on the fire crews. They slept in the back of the single bunks. So we go back over there and squat down and fight with each other back there. Um, we didn't do that. We didn't have to do that. I heard other people talk about it. I heard about it when I was there, but we didn't. The gym, the gym, the shit they were doing at the gym over there. The gym was right next to where we were at too, where they would take the guys from the other units over there and pretty much torture them. They would pretty much torture them in the gym. We didn't have to go through that shit, um, because we all worked Monday through Friday. You couldn't keep us in the gym for a whole week because then the fire crew, the captains and shit, would be, hey, where the fuck the guys at? They're supposed to be. We have jobs to do out here on the street because we were out there on the streets doing shit. You know what I mean? Not me, but them guys had to go out to clean cemeteries, clean parks, all kinds of shit. They were like, hey, where's the? So they couldn't do what they were doing to them guys on the units. They couldn't take them back there for like 6, 7 days and torture them. They had to be able to work. So we didn't have to deal with that kind of shit. But we used to hear about that. We used to hear about them guys being taken to the gym, being tortured back there, being placed on their knees and all kinds of shit, and for fucking hours and handcuffed and no blankets and all the shit they were doing to them back there. We heard about it, but we didn't have to go through that shit because they couldn't do it to us because we had to work. So it was a little bit different for me. It was a good experience because it taught me a lot about the work ethic and all that stuff like that. And it kept me busy. It made the time go by fast. I was getting paid. I always had canteen. I always had canteen. Even if you had a shitty job, you were still gonna get $30 a month because you were on the fire camp. You were at the fire camp. You got paid $1 a day. The bottom guys got paid $1 a day if you're on the fire camp. So you get $30, $28, $29, whatever it was, $31. When you had a good job, you got paid $5 a day. So you always had some kind of canteen. The guys that only had like $30, $28, whatever, they got a little bit of canteen when it was time to go down to get some canteen. They didn't have full lockers like some of us did. I would have stacks of cases of ramens in there. I'd buy a whole case of fucking potato chips or the granny. We had Granny Goose chips. That's what they were giving us. Granny Goose. We could buy Granny Goose tortilla chips, nacho chips, or whatever, plain potato chips. So I would buy a whole case or cases of chips. And if I couldn't store it in my locker, then I would store it in the locker of another guy that didn't have shit, that didn't have a lot of stuff. And I'd be like, hey, look, let me throw this shit in your locker. Let me throw a couple cases of ramen in there, a case of chips, and you can get what you want out of it. You know what I mean? Don't eat it all, but usually it was somebody I knew, like my homeboy Woody from Pedro. But let me throw these cases in your shit right there, and get what you want. And me and him shared everything. So he was on the regular fire crew. He didn't have a really good job, so he was getting paid like $1 a day, and he didn't have a lot of packages coming every. Well, no, I think he did get packages from his girl. Yeah, but I mean, he wasn't like balling like some of us were. Some of us we were making really good money over there. And so, but that was my experience at it. It wasn't hard. Uh, it's just gang shit. You know what I mean? It was gang shit. Yeah. Well, I was already doing that on the street. You know what I mean? The only difference is that you don't go home. You know what I mean? You're stuck there. But I was, again, the way I grew up as a little kid. Whenever I get in trouble, I would stay in my room for a week. My dad would make me stay in the room for a week. One time, he made me stay in my room for a month. I stayed in my room for summertime, a whole month. Couldn't come out, only to eat and take a shower, use the restroom. Couldn't listen to the radio, couldn't watch TV. I had to read books. Anytime I got in trouble, I had to stay in my room for a week, 2 weeks, a month, whatever it was. I had to read books. So when I got locked up, it seemed so familiar to me. You know what I mean? It was just, it's like I had been here before. Like I was already prepared for this kind of shit. So to me, it was like no big deal. Um, I don't know. I didn't have the same experience a lot of these guys did, that where they were like, people were getting stabbed and shit. That we weren't doing that kind of shit at the fire camps, because most people that were at the fire camp were only going to do like 2 years and go home. So they weren't trying to stab nobody and do all that bullshit. They were trying to work, make some money, and get the fuck out of there. You know what I mean? If you had to throw down with people, you threw. Well, if you had an enemy, when your enemy came in, right away you jam him up, tell him he wants to get down. You know what I mean? Like you had a problem, we handle it right now. If the dude said no, then he left it alone. Most likely he's gonna be fucking dropped level for saying no. He's gonna get his ass booted out of camp. Or they're gonna treat him like shit until he gets out of there. You know what I mean? I should see guys get treated like shit. They get their shit taken every time they got paid. They got their canteen ticket from them. Get smacked in the face. I mean, they were doing shit like that to people. You know what I mean? Um, but they weren't like stabbing people and shit like that. They would just treat you like shit, steal all your stuff from you. You couldn't have nothing. Um, but it wasn't as horrible as it was for some of the other guys that were on the other units. You know, not for me. I'm glad I got that experience to go to the camp. You know, like I said, I always had a good work ethic, but you know, it taught me more. You know, and I learned a lot of shit from being there. You know, different kind of maintenance jobs and stuff like that. You know, but yeah, it wasn't as bad as what it was for these other guys. You know, I think I'm the only one that I've ever seen on the YouTube talking about being in the camp. I always hear about people being on the main lines over there, but for me, I was in the camp. I got lucky to be there and make some money and get some experience out of it. It didn't when I got home. It didn't stop me from going back to the street though. Didn't stop me from being a fucking criminal. You know, I became worse when I got out, and I'm lucky that I never got caught up again. But yeah, that was my experience being in the fire camp. It was Los Robles fire camp. There's a lot of other stuff. You know, I don't want to make the video too long, but there's a lot of stuff that we did over there. There was a lot of good times over there. You know, I used to hang the Christmas lights in Paso Robles every year for 2 years. Downtown Paso Robles, me and Spanky and some other dudes, like two other guys, they would take us out there, and we go and get all these Christmas lights and ladders, and we go into downtown Paso Robles, and we'd hang all the decorations that were in downtown Paso Robles. We did that for 2 years. We did it, and there was a place right there in downtown Paso Robles called Chubby Chandler's. It was a pizza place, and the guy that would take us out there, Mikey, he was a Christian guard. He's the one who would take us out there to do the work. At the end of the day, at the end, the very last day that we were hanging the lights, because it took us about a week to do it, he would take us to Chubby Chandler's and buy us a calzone, and so we looked forward to that. You know, so there was some good times there. We had gambling nights there sometimes in our unit, and you could order. They would let us order like Burger King. If you had money in your books, you can order Burger King. You order Domino's Pizza. I can't remember what else, or Chubby Chandler's. So it was funny because you know motherfuckers would order like five Whoppers and put them in the locker. They eat like two of them, put them in the locker, put the other three in the locker, and eat them in the nighttime and shit like that. You know, they'd buy like two big ass pizzas from Domino's Pizza. You know, so you see how these guys walk around with pizzas, and then we were able to gamble. It was like not real gambling. There was it was like fake gambling, but we were really gambling. You know, we were really putting money out there. You know, it was for like prizes and shit like that. But there was guys we were really gambling, and for pizza, for fucking burgers and shit like that. They would throw us barbecues and stuff. Like once a month, they would throw us a barbecue. Mainly it was chicken, them fucking chicken thighs from the chow hall, the same bullshit chicken. They put it on a grill, so it was good. You know, it wasn't fucking dipped in oil, and so they would make like chicken, barbecue chicken, and we'd all just sit outside and just eat, play handball. Did that a lot. Played a lot of handball. Played a lot of spades. Spades. Gambling at dominoes. I was a cheap motherfucker at spades. I used to win a lot of money, but I was also fucking cheating most of the time. Me and my partner would always be fucking cheating. But yeah, dude, we had some pretty good experiences there. I met a lot of good fucking dudes there from all kinds of neighborhoods, all over Southern California. And got into a few fights here and there. No big deal. Just go to the blinds, throw down, come back. Continue the normal program. But yeah, so that was my experience. I know that some of them had a lot. Some guys had it a lot harder, but it wasn't that bad for the guys that went to the fire camp. It doesn't mean that the motherfuckers that were in fire camp were soft motherfuckers, because you know what, there's a lot of dudes there that are with it. We just got lucky. We just got lucky to be able to be there. And so yeah, that's my experience at Los Robles Fire Camp in Paso Robles, 1990 to 1992. You guys have a good day. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll be talking to you.